But what about the evil yo-yo?
The station that'll teach you the things your parents and teachers are too afraid to. Jet Set Radio! Now, class, open your books to page 32. Yo-Yo's gutsy plans got messed up by those idiot Lukaku police. Has that backstabber Yo-Yo been trying to take down the GGs from the get-go? The noise tanks look pissed. They must have fried some circuits, because now they're rioted in the streets. Is there anyone out there who can stop those rampaging machines?
Oh no, Slop is overwhelming the streets. Alright, I'm gonna be Combo for a bit. I've been neglecting him, even though I overused him as a child. I do not want to neglect him as an adult. Also, I think I got bust up a whole lot of robots by literally, like, running into them, so we'll see. Okay. Damn right we are. This is something I have been neglecting, but each chapter you can actually talk to your fellow gang members, and they have different things they're saying. Which is also why it's worth it to do the optional stuff and collect more gang members, because it fleshes out the world. You get more details. Okay, Jazz is apparently looking for us too, the girl from the stadium. See, they give you hints about finding characters too. Yeah, and so right now I think I just started a new chapter and there's noise tanks everywhere. It's kind of a new dawn on, like, if you want to free roam, the world's probably updated enough. I'm gonna go hunt for some characters and see if there's some optional stuff around, but we'll also bust up some noise tanks while we do it. Alright, I kinda am curious if I can recruit Cube yet. I think she might be hanging out. I don't know where she'll be hanging out. Maybe in the sewers, but if Jazz is looking for us. Maybe go back to the stadium.
There's the bell, and it looks like the competitors are already good to go in a concrete arena. Tell you what to do.
Boy.
Just run into them and take them out.
I guess, in the words of Ben Grimm, it's clobbering time. Oh yeah. Let's bust them. Oh yeah. See, and I believe, I don't know if it's been revealed or hinted at yet, but I think the noise tanks are just like Lukaku Goji cop owned, the most artificial gang on the streets, literal, you know, fed plant type stuff. They don't even have a real sense of character, they just occupy space. so that others cannot. Kind of a suffocation idea going on there.
Check out that style, man. Sweet.
Where are those middling ones is my question. Or are they just over here and I didn't see them? Yeah, there's one right there and right there. Oh boy, there they are. It's so easy to just pop them. This is probably the most direct violence you do towards the gang as well, and that's been a recurring joke of mine, is how nice the jump-ins are and how much the presentation of gang culture in JSRF is kind of the idealized, violence-free, like purely the third space social family community function romance of being in a gang and fighting for the right ideals and nobody getting hurt and all your enemies clearly being mummies or robots or monsters. I bring this up because it's also been kind of a feature of all the books we've read so far, and I do want to address that as we progress through the game. You Can't Win, while honest in its depiction of outlaw culture, is also, you know, a bit of an honor among thieves tale. Gangs of New York does treat the stuff with romance. Pimp, I'm gonna read the preface to Pimp because it states directly what it's trying to do in the preface, and there is a degree of like shock and warning it's trying to inspire and moralize about, so you have to take that into consideration while reading Pimp. Gangs of New York, I mean, this even gets into the ethics of the Scorsese filmography, where Martin Scorsese, while looking at very salacious and vulgar material, he is being quite Catholic about it. That's kind of I don't know, in the continuity of American crime fiction, there's an interesting thing on the cinematic side where Scorsese did show us, you know, crime, like, and I don't even mean like Goodfellas, I'm talking about with Mean Streets and stuff, in a matter-of-fact way, where it was important in a moralist sense to kind of understand the plight of these people. Tarantino is less attached to that. He's more just like less judgmental and matter-of-fact with, you know, the way his crooks and criminals act, and I know it's not realistic and it's different than the autobiographical stuff that say Scorsese's doing, but in terms of popular crime movies, the shift from Goodfellas, Casino, etc., into the Pulp Fictions and the Jackie Browns and the Reservoir Dogs, there's something there in regards to what the moral stance on crime is interpreted as. But I bring that up because, as I was saying, the 3 books we've been covering, Pimp, You Can't Win, and, where's the last of these guys? Pimp, You Can't Win, and Gangs of New York all sort of indulge in that romance, in that mythicism of like finding freedom in an alternative. I think I just did it. Needle in a haystack time. Oh, he's just right here. All right, I can exit this area now. I'm ready to leave 10 frames per second land. And that romance and conception of gangs in a noble sense can cover up the very real dangers and damages real life gangs do. Biker gangs, for instance, largely romanticized and overlooked in the continuity of American crime history as far as the actual crime they do, especially the way it functions in the now. This is why we're going to be reading Hell's Angels. No noise tanks here. By Hunter S. Thompson. But to get back to Gangs of New York, I find it interesting that 2 of the books we've covered so far, Gangs of New York and... we're going to investigate Highway Zero just because there's no noise tanks, but there's apparently stuff to do. What is that dot over there? Is that the save point? But both Gangs of New York and You Can't Win have pull quotes on them and are cited as favorites of William S. Burroughs. William S. Burroughs, of course, is the famous writer associated with the Beat movement. He wrote Naked Lunch, Junkie. Big forefather or granddaddy of sort of postmodernist literature. And really what he was doing, when you look at the stuff he was inspired by, was just reassessing the conception of modernity that the post-war period was just selling. And he was going, nah, this is all bullshit. Look, historically, this kind of stuff has happened, and we're just trying to pretend it hasn't. And that's sort of, a conception point for, postmodernism in a very vulgar and shorthand explanatory way. All right, I gotta entertain this dude. Soda. Yeah, I'll race you with the slowest character. Let's go.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ooh, I messed this up bad.
What are you doing? Did you eat your breakfast this morning?
No, I actually did not. I'm going backwards. I'm going too backwards. The mammal is back with a slice of cake. What kind of cake? All right. Now I got it. Tres leches, nice. Okay. That's right, Soda. We just inspired you. Alright, there's some graffiti souls, but it does not seem like there's any noise tanks around, so I should get out of here. But what a cool area. Oh hey, found the tape. Nice. Alright. Worth it for at least one track. Oh, hey.
You got a great soul.
Oh, I think there's a soul over there. How do I exit this place? I'll take it.
You got a great soul.
Can I hop it? Can I hop it? Am I being too specific? Okay, just did a big old combo, cool. All right, the exit's right around here, right? Or is it literally just the other direction? I'll take it. Realism is getting old for you, huh? All right, let me read this for you. Since Jacob's not here, I do apologize if I'm a little slow on the chat. As I said, I've been tampering around. For those who are diehard TechnoPoverty heads, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, yes, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to try an experiment. We're going to do a bit of a conjuring. We're going to see if we can get something special happening. But for now, I'm going to read the Hamels Mammals chat. I've been watching some 80s movies, the kind of corny ones. Some things I've noticed, the special effects aren't as realistic, but I feel they're more creative, expressive, and entertaining. A lot of words to say, realism is getting old for me. Yes, the Hamels Mammal. In part, to me, it's because, like, fiction isn't real. Like, you can't solve problems through fiction. Like, you can raise questions, but like after a certain point, there's only so many times a movie can ask you to insert yourself into a blank slate, silent protagonist before it just gets boring, because, you know, that's what video games are for. That's not what movies are for. And there's a sort of I don't want to overgeneralize as like the young adultification of anything, because rewatching some movies from the 90s, the impulse was still there, just in a different way. But this need to project oneself into the protagonism of a movie, to be a participant in solving the problem of the movie, it seems like an escapism of wanting to not, like, or being unable to do such in real life. And I don't know, it just speaks to a learned helplessness in the culture for me, as far as needing to be the one in charge of like how the plot resolves, or needing to be able to feel like you can insert yourself into the fiction instead of just being able to digest the fiction at a distance and kind of ponder what it's making you feel. We're still fighting noise tanks. I'm going to Shibuya Terminal. Yeah, 3256 on Twitter the other day, there was some Fantasia 2000 clips going around, because it was just, I don't know what happened, but there was some lamentation going on for you know, analog animation. And it really does suck, because I do wonder what certain technologies would look like today had we kept going with them. This is something that is fun about seeing those cheesy effects the Hamel Mammals talking about in 80s movies, is you see some stuff they like don't really do much today. We may eventually watch Dragon Slayer on the Discord when I find another fantasy thing to tie it into. But Dragon Slayer is kind of peak practical effects sword and sorcery. ILM cites it as one of their best in terms of it's got all kinds of stuff going on as far as rear projection and mixing models and bigatures and miniatures, dioramas. Also, for being, you know, a movie known as a special effects showcase, it actually has a lot going on internally with its ideas on fantasy and fantastic narrative. While it is about slaying a dragon and saving the princess, there's a lot in that movie that gets deconstructed and challenged within the narrative in regards to slaying dragons and what princesses are. And it's surprisingly cynical for when it was made, I think. It's also an instance of showcasing the versatility of fantasy that a lot of people don't think fantasy has. But fantasy was doing things dark and weird before Game of Thrones. That's not to say George R. R. Martin wasn't cool. It's just to say that the genre is often overgeneralized as a Dungeons and Dragons sort of high camp thing. And in my experience, that's true for fantasy video games, but like fantasy books, not so much. A lot of the great fantasy works of, especially since the 1960s with, you know, the hippies and the anti-war generation, is deconstructive and challenging in ways that stuff still isn't today on TV. Ursula Le Guin, we talked about The Left Hand of Darkness while playing Maximo. Earthsea is a great example of this and pokes at some ideas on protagonism I've been sort of alluding to while playing video games here. Yeah, that's pretty cool, 3256, the special effects school stuff. This is something we talked a bit about on the Discord too while we were watching The Warriors because of how much nighttime stuff it has and how much of it is practical nighttime shooting at night on location, and just how something is lost when it's seen as like a cost-cutting measure to just do that all digital or day for night. In a void. More so the in a void stuff. I don't mind day for night if it's done extremely well, and movies have been doing day for night for a long time. Where's them robots? Once again, no damage, the nicest world. I damage my body for the streets. Alright, I think we can move on to Shibuya Terminal. On one hand, see, I've barely unlocked anyone too as part of it. I'm gonna be Garam or Garam. And let's continue on. Yeah, Garam's got good health. I was hesitant because Combo's such a tank, but Garam's good on health. Garam's also faster. Cleaning the streets up from robots. If only the internet could be done the same. The ever-present Google AI bot stuff. Now bringing you the president posting Star Wars pictures. Oh. I guess I just had to get a certain number. Someone's battling with Yo-Yo on the Skyscraper District. But there's a tendency to romance gang culture because, I mean, everybody wants to hang out with their friends and do coordinated outfits and have some sort of idea of collective crew action, be it co-op video games or a night at Topgolf. There's that Zuckerberg post going around saying the average American has 3 friends, and so many photos in response to that of just triplets through pop culture. Oh, should I get up there? Much like cults, it speaks to the need for, you know, social activity, socialization. Third spaces and places where you can get together with your friends and not go crazy. This is part of the fun of Free Comic Book Day, which happened last weekend, or this past Saturday. You don't even need to really, like, say, you know, mainstream Marvel, DC superhero cape comics. Oh? Sky Dinosaur. Oh, so I think I have to... There we go. Well, Arash Mickey, I'll tell you more about the Hells Angels in a moment.
Of the heavens, Sky Dinosaurian Square. Now, according to Poison Jam's info, Yo-Yo is biding his time up there. Go find him.
Now, this is this area, you know, video game where you're grinding, skating, and here's an amusement park with a roller coaster and dinosaurs. You have my full attention.
Time to kick some booty, y'all. Defeat that traitor, Yo-Yo.
Oh, it looks like we actually got to deal with Traitor Yo-Yo.
Hey.
Oh? Chaos is the true nature of the streets, and then she's gone. That was Cube. I love her. She's one of my favorite characters, both aesthetically, attitude-wise, and I remember her stats being quite good. I forget when you get to recruit her, but I'm going to recruit her. But for now, I have to play Tagger's Tag with the noise tanks. It appears like it is showdown time in Roller Coaster Land. And yeah, Rash Mickey, it's kind of an open world game. There's certain areas you can't get to until later, but yeah, there's a lot of free roaming. You can revisit areas. You're encouraged to explore and find secret tapes in each zone, which unlocks a set of like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater style challenges. It's a very big game for its time period. I remember that surprising me as a kid. This game felt like an odyssey because of how long it was and how big it was compared to its Dreamcast predecessor. The Dreamcast predecessor was level-based, and each level was a time attack scenario, so you didn't have time to roam around and explore the nooks and crannies in the same way. All right, let's fight these robots. Ooh, I overshot it.
It was nothing but an imposter. He overheated with anger. Looks like the noise tanks are behind all this.
Oh, so the noise tanks orchestrated the chaos. Ah. Dang it. I'm missing all the cans on this roller coaster. Look at that, there's a theater. If I wasn't battling the noise tanks, there would be people here. All right, let's see if I can find them. Ah.
Sayonara!
All right, I'm gassed up. Next time I see him, it's over. There they are, all right. Okay. All right, we're gonna reorient it. It is fascinating, Philip. We haven't seen much on the next Jet Set Radio game, which is in development. I think there's literally 10 seconds of footage, but we do see them get like off the skates and just walk around. And I am curious because the one minor issue I have had so far is sometimes when you want to stop and reorient yourself in a level, that can be difficult since the momentum gameplay always is pushing you forward. Like coming to a stop, it's a bit disruptive. All right, let's catch back up with these robots. The thing is, they take the red line, and I kept hopping on the green line because I was doing bad platforming, and in order to save myself, I was hopping on that green. Oh, I love roller coasters, the Hamel Mammal. I thought I'd be scared of them. As a kid for a while, I was super avoidant of them, and then like, when I was 21, 22, I went to Six Flags Chicago, and I rode everything. I didn't even mind waiting in the lines. I'm a sicko like that. That was part of the fun for me. Yeah, Thug 1 was really good. I remember that being one of those games I rented and beat in like a weekend. It was just the right length. It would be interesting to kind of compare that one's story to what this game is doing, because in the past I brought up the Ludo narrative motivations of the Tony Hawk's games being the tricks and the score and the performance as an individual, as compared to this game where you don't have to worry about balancing combos and tricks, and it is more the story and the cultural focus. Also, where are these dudes? They're like waiting for me elsewhere. Okay. Alright, so they're waiting for me like on the other side of the map. I'm just gonna... Right, and so that skating as a product thing speaks to kind of the cultural place of where in the individual consumer's life the thing occupies and what it motivates them to do. Because I remember Thug 1, the whole point being like, oh, you're going to do the sickest fucking trick and it's going to get caught on tape, and then you're going to become super popular and get all the sponsorship deals, and then your best friend steals your trick tape. Like, he takes the tape and says it's him because I think your face is covered when you jump that helicopter, if I remember the story correctly. So it is very much this individual, like, striver narrative thing. Yeah, and it's no way, I too made that kind of qualifier when I was talking about it. I was like, the Tony Hawk games are still fun. This is just looking at them with that consideration. Oh yeah, I'm getting these boys. Oh, dang. Tony Hawk's fun because it's also, to me, very Tetris-like in the way you have to keep chaining the combos and you don't want to destroy your momentum. You want to keep that score multiplier going. But then you have to keep things, you have to keep the variation going. So it's also very, like, masturbatory Street Fighter-esque in a good way. When that HD remake pick dropped, it really clicked for me in a way it didn't as a kid, where I was like, oh, this is why you want to do like the wall run, and this is why you want to, you know, convert into manual and hold your balance, and then jump into this kind of grind, and then do this kind of air trick and link it here. Here we go. Let's get them. Ooh, man. Nope. Yeah, the manuals were the super glue that held everything else together. Also, like if you jumped and did like a 180 or a 360 and kept like if you switched up direction mid grind, not direction, but if you jumped on a grind and spin and landed like on a 180 on the reverse side, I remember that being a pretty effective multiplayer as well. Where are they? Sadly, while I like Tagger's Tag in spirit, the AI was just severely not where the game needed it to be. I'm glad they did err on the side of like ease rather than making this game Nintendo hard though. True story, Jet Grind Radio is pretty Nintendo hard because the momentum plays totally different, and when you do the graffiti, it's like a QTE minigame where you have to hit directional inputs as you're tagging instead of just quick hitting those tags. So it's a bit more frustrating, and I remember being one of those games I got really mad at because one level was really difficult and I put it down. And then I came back to the game like 2 years later and I beat that level, and the next level was literally the final boss. Ooh, I need health. Alright, I should be coming up on them soon. Ooh.
Time to kick some booty, y'all. Defeat that traitor, Yo-Yo.
I think Garash, it's because by the time I came back around to it, I had settled with the idea that it wasn't JSRF, and I met the controls where they were at instead of expecting to be JSRFs. And so the game just clicked for me better. I feel like I had a lot of stubborn habits as a younger gamer, and like I tried to blunt force one playstyle on something, and if it wasn't working, I'd just get frustrated at it. And that is something that I see in a lot of games criticism now that I think is a huge barrier for a lot of critics. If you can't meet the game on its own terms, you're not going to be able to really understand or figure out what it's trying to do because you're expecting it to be something it's not. And I used to think video games may be good at helping you, you know, work that sort of mental heuristic and improve your communication skills elsewhere. For instance, like Dark Souls is the same way, where it's not so much that the game is hard, it's that you need to reconceive what your conception of difficulty is. But I don't know, given the proliferation of aforementioned bad gaming journalism, and amateur criticism, I wonder if it's more that you need a well-rounded humanities education and to touch some fucking grass. I do think games can be part of said well-rounded humanities education, though. us. Like, where is he? Where can I get some cans, man? Here we go. Come on. One down. I love the blur effect when he's grinding too, just like the sense of speed those lines add. This was the first cel-shaded game I think I encountered, so that on top of everything else the game was doing, just it presented the concept of mise-en-scene to me before I knew what mise-en-scene was. It brought together all the elements of style and culture, you know, the visual kei, the skater culture, the Shibuya kei, the hip-hop, the funkadelic. It put it all in place and gave it a sense of performance and voice. It wasn't just that you were hearing the music and seeing the style, but you were seeing a whole lifestyle. It's a fictional proxy lifestyle within the game, of course. These people don't eat, they don't shit. You can get hit by a car and still live. But I mean, it put together what the thing is supposed to look like in an ideal state. Again, gang culture at its most romantic, hip-hop culture at its most romantic, street culture at its most ideal, anti-authoritarian practice at its most cartoonish. And it's a hell of a way to get people listening to Stokely Carmichael, and they don't even realize they may be listening to a Stokely Carmichael sample. Alright, BattleBot. Pardon me, chat, I may go quiet for a moment while I chase down this last dude. Oh, he took health. I didn't even know they could do that. There we go. Oh. Why does it matter what goes on the streets? Oh, the syndicate? Who's this mysterious syndicate?
Super bass out of space in your face, baby. Jet Set Radio! We're kicking it live, even in the furthest reaches of the galaxy. And to all you aliens out there, I know you're planning to invade us. Whenever you're ready, just bring it on, suckers. Yo-Yo's real identity was nothing but a noise tank in disguise. And check this out. Those noise tanks were cyborgs created by Rokaku.
Oh shit.
It seems they kidnapped Yo-Yo and built a fake one to try and destroy the GGs. And since the Rokaku police couldn't take care of the Rudies on their own, the Rokaku group is sending the Golden Rhinos.
Oh.
The secret special forces group to tear up the streets.
That's an aspect I totally forgot. Private army.
By Rokaku Goji.
Goji has a Blackwater.
And Tokyo's current mayor.
Damn, this game's so good.
Hayashi has been kicked out of his useless police organization. He's got to be freaking out by now.
Yeah, they gave the cops a mech and they still can bust us. Of course they're gonna call Blackwater after that.
The noise tanks have been wiped out. But now, the gang that got implanted with noise tanks' brainwashing chip.
Of course it's the Rockabillys.
Where in the world could the real Yo-Yo be?
So susceptible to traditionalism. The Hells Angels, the Rockabillys? Yeah. Let's find Yo-Yo. Let's get these dorks out of here. Let's fuck up this private army. I do not like these guys. That's right, Soda. We're also going to see if Cube is around to recruit, since she helped us blow up the noise tank's cover. I think if I go down to the sewer, she might be there. Nice. Oh shit, what? Damn it. Oh, I thought you were my friend, sir. Well,
Seems like Clutch is hanging out at Kibogaoka Hill.
I'm a little frustrated that my graffiti souls just got stolen, but such is the nature of the story and the plot. Things happen, consequences occur, we must act and react to them. Let's find a space to jump, to chill. Ooh, this boy's fast, I like him. He's also tall. All right, gang, we're gonna take a break, but before we do so, I just want to read a passage from Pimp that I know I did not read the other night and I meant to. So we talked about Iceberg Slim's Pimp the other night, and this is the autobiography of a pimp. Iceberg Slim was a pimp in the 40s, went to jail for 20 years, published this book in the 60s. He had a lot to say about being a pimp and a lot to share with us. Great piece of hidden history, stuff that you don't learn in school that's worth kind of understanding. I just want to read the preface really quick because I find it so damn good. Let me turn the volume down a bit more for a moment. But in talking about these depictions of gang violence and the romanticization and the self-awareness of it, I'm gonna let's just see what Iceberg had to say about his own writing. In this book, I will take you, the reader, with me into the secret inner world of the pimp. I will lay bare my life and thoughts as a pimp. The account of my brutality and cunning as a pimp will fill many of you with revulsion. However, if one intelligent, valuable young man or woman can be saved from the destructive slime, then the displeasure I have given will have been outweighed by that individual's use of his potential in a socially constructive manner. I regret that it is impossible to recount to you all of my experiences as a pimp. Unfortunately, it would require the combined pages of a half-dozen books. Perhaps my remorse for my ghastly life will diminish to the degree that within this one book I have been allowed to purge myself. Perhaps one day I can win respect as a constructive human being. Most of all, I wish to become a decent example for my children and for that wonderful woman in the grave, my mother. He wants to be a socially constructive person. Through confession and through hopefully warning, he is hoping to do something constructive and productive with what he knows and what he went through as a pimp. This is sort of something Jack Black is getting at when he says you can't win as well. He wants you to understand that there are oligarchs and there are hierarchs and there are winners of the social game, and they have arranged it so that the systems of ascent and playing by their rules is not going to yield you the same victories that they have, because they have the benefits of privilege. They have the privileges to put them in a position to be the winners of the social order. You're not going to be a winner. That does not mean self-loathe and go around as a self-hating loser. It means you need to understand that, you can't win. You should play another game. You should figure out another system. This is something that Gangs of New York shows is a constant and recurrent thing through the history of the 1800s. There were people protesting the drafts. There were people protesting the formation of the police. There's always this sort of this tension within society. Some would start getting Hegelian and talking about thesis and synthesis and theory and anti-theory. We're not going to do that here. That's not this type of show. I'm not really equipped to do that, although I may chat a bit tomorrow should my experiment work out. But that's all to say. I just really wanted to read the preface to Pimp, and I do want to talk about that nugget of being socially constructive or wishing to be socially constructive, because we are going to read some Camus and talk about Camus potentially next session or the session after Hell's Angels, depending on how long JSRF takes us. But Camus talks about the act of rebellion as recognizing that there is something within us worth rebelling for. There is a value to life in some way. There is something constructive there, and we're saying, no more, not just for me, but in a almost universal way, we recognize this boundary. I rebel, therefore we are. I am setting a rule in play that there is this boundary on human dignity, and I won't do X, Y, and Z, and you will respect that. That's sort of the nugget of rebellion within Camus' essay that he explores through various examples in history and his own personal philosophies on it. But we'll talk more about Camus, and we'll talk more in general about all that when we get back from break. For now, get up, stretch your legs, refresh your water, smoke them if you got them. It is currently 9:14. I'll be back at 9:30. Until then, just, chill and take care of yourself.